was born in Beijing, China, and I actually immigrated to the States with my parents when I was a young girl. So I came when I was about 3, but every summer from the time I was about 8 years old all the way till I was 18 years old, I actually spent every summer in China. And so my relatives are still there. I speak the language fluently. It's actually my native language. My favorite memory is probably the Beijing Olympics, where I got to see the US national team play in the softball finals. I played softball my whole life, and so that's actually my favorite memory of going back to China. I can relate to a lot of my students in that their parents either immigrated or they immigrated themselves, which is something that surprises my students, because the first thing is they hear my English and they're like, oh, she's not from, another country. She must have grown up here. And that's far from the truth, right? I spent a lot of my childhood in China, those summer months. And I always tell my kids, like, even if you're not going to be in the STEM field, you can still learn lessons about working hard, about advocating for yourself. And a lot of those things I learned in the classroom. I learned how to advocate for myself because my parents didn't know how to help me, and I don't blame them because they came from a totally different schooling system, right? It's so different in China, and they had to fight their way through. And my family escaped communist China for many reasons. And doing so was really fortunate because I got all these opportunities that I wouldn't otherwise have, such as even my little sister, who wouldn't have been born if we stayed in China due to the one-child policy. However, the thing is, my parents weren't really sure what to do. We didn't know the language. I mean, I was an ESL student for many years of elementary school, and so there was a lot of growing up that I had to do as a young child. And part of me will always remember the immigrant background that I come from, seeing how hard my parents had to work and seeing what it's like to have to have struggled from the bottom and move up. So this is Griffin, and he's an English Labrador. I've been with him for about 5 years, and he was trained for me for an underlying condition that I have. I'm actually in a doctorate of education program, and what I'm looking at is how to make STEM accessible to people with disabilities, someone like myself with an invisible illness, or someone who's maybe in a wheelchair or quadriplegic or paraplegic, right? And so when you have a disability or when you're of a different culture, you see things differently. So highlighting those differences actually, I firmly believe, contributes more to problem solving, right? I approach a problem differently than someone else would who is able-bodied because I have to consider I have a 75-pound living animal with me, right? How do I approach this situation? Having those different perspectives and just being able to bring that into a classroom is really critical for students. I want to show them it's okay to accept different cultures. They don't have to be like you, but you have to be willing to accept they have a different viewpoint and they could contribute something and push you to think in a different way that you maybe not have thought. And vice versa. I'll learn something from you and you'll learn something from me.